Welcome to the Next Level Occupational Therapy YouTube channel. My name is Kara Welke, occupational therapist and creator of the Next Level Occupational Therapy platform. The goal of this YouTube channel is to encourage, inspire, and motivate occupational therapy professionals to level up in their current career, whether that be to start a new business, add a side job, and or to figure out how to be more satisfied in their current career. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Next Level Occupational Therapy podcast. My name is Kara Welke, occupational therapist and creator of the Next Level Occupational Therapy platform. The goal of this podcast is to encourage, inspire, and motivate occupational therapy professionals to level up in their career, whether that be to start a new business, add a side job, and or to figure out how to be more satisfied in your current career. Thank you for listening to today's show, which is sponsored by our Therapy Business Builder program, where we help healthcare professionals start the business of their dreams from the ground up. Also, be sure to join our free Next Level Occupational Therapy Facebook group. And for even more support, guidance, and training, check out our Next Level Visionary membership group. Time to level up occupational therapy professionals. The goal of this podcast is to interview occupational therapy professionals who have started their own business so that you can learn from those that have already been through the process. We are reaching the 1-year mark of the Next Level Occupational Therapy podcast, maybe a little bit over. And I've had the privilege of interviewing several amazing healthcare entrepreneurs, occupational therapy entrepreneurs over the past year, and I look forward to interviewing many more. Today is going to be slightly different take. So today I am going to be talking with you myself and talking with you about the last few months, as well as my own personal journey with my home therapy solutions business. And the reason why I decided to do this podcast today is, if you haven't noticed, the Next Level Occupational Therapy podcast has been on a hiatus for the last few months. The last podcast I did was, I think, July 13th. So we're going on 2 months since we had a podcast up and going. And that is just kind of part of the life of being an entrepreneur. And especially if you have multiple things going on, sometimes you have to put some things on the back burner. And during the summer months, I really try to take my time off so I can focus on my kids who are at home and we can do as many things as possible. So I tried not to do as much over the summer. And the one thing I haven't done was a podcast, since I did a couple in July, but otherwise I try to take the summer months off. But in the process of doing that, I still kept going, of course, with my home therapy solutions business, as well as trying to still do as many things possible for the Next Level Occupational Therapy platform and programs that we have. So I want to first start with jumping back in time. And for many of you probably already know me and may have heard this story, but I know we have so many new followers out there that I thought it would be good for you guys to hear a little bit of my backstory and why I wanted to start my own business and how did I get there. So hope you guys enjoy the show and learn something at the same time. So as I have mentioned before, I've been an occupational therapist for over 20 years. I graduated from the University of South Dakota in December of 2000. And I immediately started working where I had my level 2 fieldwork placement coming out, which was in St. Luke's in Sioux City, Iowa. And I worked on kind of in the acute hospital, but I was able to work on the burn unit. I worked in total joint unit, just general acute bed, did some pediatrics, went into some homes. It was a great first experience. I love it. Even then, when I think back on things, well, even when I think back to things in school, I was always one that wanted to kind of build things, do programs, get things started. When I was at St. Luke's in Sioux City, I was in the process of starting a program that was based off the lifestyle designs program over at an assisted living facility. And it was, going to follow the lifestyle redesign program, as well as have some few different features in it. And that was being set up. But then I ended up switching careers or jobs as I found a new career for me that was in our town. So I didn't have to drive the 45 minutes every day. So that obviously got put on hold, and I don't think anyone ever took that over. But then after that, I was the director of an early Head Start program. And that was a phenomenal experience. I was able to start and build the University of South Dakota's Early Head Start program from ground up. And I said I would probably still be there if my husband didn't get a job up in Grand Forks, North Dakota, where we moved after that. But anyway, so I worked in the Early Head Start program for about 3 years. And throughout that time, I also kept working PRN and at St. Luke's, and then as well as in some skilled nursing facilities. When we moved up to Grand Forks, North Dakota, we moved up here in 2004. I had thought that I would try the stay-at-home mom route. That didn't last very long. I mean, obviously I love staying at home with my kiddos, but I also need that interaction. I need to be doing something, be busy, as many of you probably can understand if you know me at all. So I went back to work PRN, and then I ended up doing 3 days a week. So I worked 3 days a week for several years, and I loved that because I was able to go to work and utilize my skills and interact with people, but then I was also able to be home with my kiddos the other days of the week, and plus it allowed them to go to daycare, interact with their friends as well. And during this time, I worked with an outreach department at our local hospital. I primarily worked in skilled nursing facilities, but I was able to start in I was able to start an outpatient clinic in one of our towns that's connected to our big town. I started several programs at assisted living facilities, memory care facilities, where we saw clients in their homes there. And I loved it. It was great. And then come 2012, I was approached from someone that taught at Northland Community and Technical College, and they reached out and asked me if I would want to teach. And I love teaching. I loved having fieldwork students. I just love, working with clients, teaching clients, working with them. So in 2012, I started teaching, and I taught all the way up until last December. Throughout the time teaching, I kept working PRN, again, because I feel it's so important that faculty continue to work and teach in the field, so you have that real life experience to help people and to teach people where they need to be. And I've told this story often, but I'm going to tell it again. It wasn't until I started teaching that I realized I wasn't as good of an occupational therapist as I thought I was. I learned, once I started teaching, I really took a deep dive into our profession and what client-centered therapy was, what occupation-based therapy was, what's evidence-based therapy, just really looking at the occupational therapy practice framework and so forth. And that's when I realized, I wasn't doing what I could be for the clients in my own practice, and became very passionate about providing better therapy and providing client-centered occupation-based therapy. And it was great because I was able to still work and utilize everything that I was doing and teaching my students while I was practicing. So when students would come back from field work and say, all they do is UBE or TheraBand or things like that, I could say, well, that's not how it should be, because in order to be client-centered, occupation-based, we need to look at the whole person and different things that they want to do and so forth. And then sometimes they would say, well, that they tell us that's what life isn't like in the real person. That's just what they teach you in school. And luckily I was able and actually practicing as occupation-based, client-centered, that I could say no, because I actually do it when I work, and I could bring students along and they could come with me and see how it could be done. And so that you don't have to do the UBE and arm bike and all that kind of stuff and TheraBand. Arm bike and UBE, same thing, sorry. So anyways, and as I started teaching over the years, I started telling my husband I would love to start my home business where I see older adults in the home, and just talked about how I felt that's really the wave of the future and what we need to be doing more of. But I never really knew what to do or how to do it. There was no resources, and it's scary. I mean, starting your own business, that's so many things involved, because we're not really taught everything we need to when it comes to insurances. How do you deal with insurance? What paperwork do you need? How do you manage your finances? There's so much involved in building a business that I just kind of kept putting it off. And I would just try to create projects or do different things to kind of fulfill my need of entrepreneurship. And I decided to go back and get my doctorate degree. I think that was in 2017, around in there. So when there was a big discussion out there if OTA schools were going to no longer be associates, but they were going to be bachelor's level, that's when I decided maybe I should get my doctorate now, because if I have to go and teach at a university, I'm going to need my doctorate. And the program, I went to the University of South Dakota, and they had a great program that actually wasn't going to be that many credits, that much time, and it allowed me to get my doctorate. And when I went to get my doctorate, I was tossing between two ideas. One was like our capstone project. One was going to be establishing a business, and the other one was to establish the active engagement in life program at a nursing home that I had developed, that I had wanted to develop and put into place. So at that time, I decided to go with the developing the program at the skilled nursing facility, and instead of the business part, which would have been wiser now that I look back. But anyways, so for my doctorate, I developed an active engagement in life program. There's an article in OT Practice on that. Again, I think that was in like 2018, February or somewhere around there. I can post the link. I developed that program, and it went over really well. The clients loved it. It was well received. And when we were done, the facility wanted to continue this program. And they tried to continue it, but it just didn't. Trying to do occupation-based, client-centered, evidence-based practice treatment is not always the easiest for some therapy professionals and so forth. And I was kind of bummed that it didn't continue, because the results were positive. The clients loved it. It actually brought in true occupation-based type services. And I think it was then that I was, just frustrated. And like, if I'm going to provide therapy the way I want to provide, I'm going to have to think about, starting my own business. And the final kicker that came in was I had an occupational therapy student who came into my office who needed a level 2 field work. And she was looking for different options and so forth. And we were discussing different options. And she had mentioned this one place in town. And I had said that I didn't think they had occupational therapy, because I had worked with them in the past, like with just mutual clients and so forth. But I called them and they didn't have occupational therapy, but they were just in the process of becoming a home health care Part A agency and would be able to see clients under home health. And, they were going to be in need of an occupational therapist. And I got to talking about, how we could see clients in the home under Medicare Part B and da 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 da. Anyways, I went in and met with the owners, and it went very well. And that's kind of where my business, Home Therapy Solutions, came from. But the kicker is I actually tried to get them to just hire me and to try to get them to do, not only the home health Part A, but to do the Part B stuff. And I would just work for them. Again, clueless, not knowing anything about business or what I shouldn't do or anything about it. But luckily, there's a couple, and the man said, no, I think it would be much better for you and us if you just contracted with us to, and you could provide the occupational therapy services for Medicare Part A. But then your own business, you could do the Medicare Part B part of it. And I was like, okay, I have no idea what to do, how to do, or anything about it, but I'll try to figure it out. So it was literally, that's what pushed me. And I blindly went into establishing my own business, getting everything up and going. So I know that's a long route into the answer of my first question. But yeah, that's a jump back in time and how I first got started in my business. And I just think it's kind of funny that I tried to get someone to hire me versus, me thinking I could start my own business. So after that, I got my business established and I just kind of blindly went through everything and I reached out for resources. I searched AOTA, I searched all of the Facebook groups I could find. I searched, APTA, any sources online to help someone find that could help with business building. And I made several mistakes along the way that were very costly, time consuming, and so forth. But they also helped me realize what kind of programs and services needed to be out there to help other therapy professionals in the meantime. And once I met Steve with Hello Note, that was a huge click for me because not only did they provide the EMR and billing services that I needed, they were also very supportive along the process as well. But the 5 tips that I would like to share with you guys, because every time I interview someone, I have them jump back in time and tell us when you first wanted to start your business and how did you get from there to here. So I've kind of discussed that, and then to share 5 tips. So I could share a million tips, I swear. But the first thing and most foremost is, these aren't in any order because they're all really important if you ask me. Number 1 is to invest in yourself and in your business. When I tried to start my own business, I tried to do it as frugal as possible. I wasn't willing to invest in my business. I wasn't willing to invest in myself because I didn't have a clue and I didn't realize what all I actually needed to start in my business. It wasn't until I invested in a $30,000 mastermind program that I really realized how much an investment could turn around and change you and your business and everything around yourself. So I'm not saying you have to go and invest $30,000 by any means, but I'm just saying you have to be willing to invest in yourself and your business if you want it to grow and to actually learn everything that you need. There's just so many resources out there now that can help people be so much more successful. And I just see every day people not taking advantage of these great resources. And that's exactly why we started our Therapy Business Builder program, because my coach said, what What have you liked, and what would have you been willing to pay to help you start and build your business? You need to figure that out and create that and figure out how much you would have been willing to pay for that. So you could have avoided all of the nightmare, the stress, and the struggle that you went through when you were building your business. So that's where the Therapy Business Builder program came from. So everything we do within that program is developed because of myself and all the struggles that I went through, as well as several other therapists that do the same type of business that I do, that we kind of became, friends and just networked with each other. So just, you have to be willing to invest in yourself. If you're not, don't even bother getting started, because there's going to be times down the road we're going to have to reinvest, or you're going to have to, something like COVID's going to hit and you have to change paths and be willing to invest in your business and yourself, not just your business, but yourself as well. So that's a huge one. Finances. So finances wasn't really a huge concern of mine, but how I managed and kept track of finances, having a good bookkeeping system, having a good accountant, all of that kind of stuff is huge. And I wish I would have had everything set up accordingly before I started with my business. So we've done Dave Ramsey. I'm now in, I've taken Alex Ingar's Profit You course, which I think is the best thing in the world, and that's included in our Therapy Business Builder program. And I'm now in another kind of financial course, and we've always done well with managing our money and so forth. So that's never been a concern. But when I started my business, I was like, well, I'm going to put everything on my personal credit card because, we get tons of points and we go on trips and stuff with that. But that was a pain in the butt. That was stupid. I wish I would have just had everything separated from the beginning to make things so much easier. I wish I had a good accountant from the beginning, and just had all the processes set up so I knew what I was doing better with that. So just making sure you have everything set up and you're keeping track of your expenses, and you're keeping your personal and your business separate, I think is really important, and that you have good systems in place. I started out with an accountant and QuickBooks, but they didn't really have the time they needed to help me with what I needed. I now have another company that I'm working with, and I'm using Xero instead of QuickBooks. I'm using Gusto for payroll, and then I'm using their business for bookkeeping, and that has taken so much stress off of me. And then I have an accountant that's really there looking out for the best interest of ourselves on our personal side of things, but also on our business side of things. So finances is a huge one. So far I've talked about being willing to invest in yourself and finances. The next one I'll talk about is knowing what you are doing and why, and creating, really focusing on your niche area. You shouldn't just do or start a business because you think it would be a good thing to do, or because you think it's needed in the area. And this is personal speaking. I don't think you should only start a business because you're very passionate about that area. I think you need to take all of those pieces together when you're doing this. So obviously I've been passionate about working with older adults forever, since I was younger. I grew up with my 4 grandparents living, one set 2 miles from me, the other 10 miles from me. Grew up living with them around, and I spent lots of time with them and their friends. As they grew, I worked in this nursing home and activities and dietary. I've always just loved working with the older adult population, so that's definitely a passion of mine. but there was also a need for it in my community. And so just putting all of that together was huge. Now, when I first started thinking about my business, I'm like, oh, I can do all ages, 0 to whatever, no, I saw to see how that would really stretch me thin and not allow me to really focus on the population and the type of business that I want to do. And so really finding that niche and niching down. I mean, they say the riches are in the niches, trying not to do everything. And I'm a good example because, so I have other businesses that I am doing. And for instance, in the Next Level Occupational Therapy group, we have different programs and so forth. And my coaches, Alex Ingar and Will Boyd, have told me over and over, you need to focus, Carrie. You can't be doing everything. And I don't always listen very well. My husband will be the first to tell you guys that. I'm like, no, I can do more. So I started to do a few other things on the side and realized, no, you can't do all that. You do need to focus, and you need to come back on the areas that that you're working on, that you want to grow and build. Otherwise, it just creates too much. So I've learned that both with my personal home therapy solutions business, because when I first started, I thought I would do everything. And now I realize, or soon after I started, I realized, nope, my focus is on the older adults in the home, Medicare Part B, with that. And I don't know why I say that all the time, but anyways. And then same thing with our Next Level Occupational Therapy. I realized that we can't do everything, and that I've had to put some things aside, even though I thought that would be a great area as well. So niche down, know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Another thing with the knowing what you are doing, I see a lot of people out there that are trying to start a business like what I have, but they have no idea anything about like Medicare. They don't know what the difference is between Part A and Part B. They don't understand that, a lot of people still think they can just go out and charge cash or private pay to these clients when the services could be covered by Medicare. So you need to do your research. You need to know what you're doing and why, and niche down. Okay, so let me see, we've covered invest in yourself, finances, knowing what you're doing and why, and niche down. The next one is network. You need to have a good, solid network to support you and to guide you, and to have a place where you can go to and ask questions as things come up. We've all seen it. Start your business in 30 days or less. Start your business in 2 weeks. I mean, realistically, you guys, you can't, yeah, I suppose you can start your business in a week, but that's not actually building and growing and developing a business to get you where you need to be. So it does take time. You got to really watch out for what you're doing, who you're working with, and so forth. But if you can find a network of people that can help support you throughout the process, that is going to be so huge. My initial network that I found were other therapists that were doing the similar things, as well as like Steve from Hello Note, Anthony Maritato with his Medicare knowledge, and then the people that I contracted with, attorneys, accountants, so forth. I started, creating that network to help support me, plus family, friend support as well. But a network is huge. And that's probably one of the biggest things we hear about people in our therapy business builder program, that the network of support is beyond phenomenal, because you have other people that have been there, done that, or are doing that at the same time. So you are in a network of people that can help support you throughout the process, not just the first week or month or two, but long-term. Because if you're building a business, it's a long-term investment, and you need to be committed for the long term, and you need to have a network and support for the long term. So reviewing investing in yourself, finances, know what you're doing and why, niche down, network, and then the number 5 is relationships. So my husband has always been huge on relationships and experiences. That's the main things that matter in life. All of our friends and family know that his motto is relationships and experiences. And to take that as how it relates to your business is you need to get out and build relationships with people in your community, and get to know people, and you need to allow them to get to know you, but you need to figure out how you can best support and help other people, not just going to people asking for referrals. So start by building relationships, getting out there, helping others, helping other people solve problems. And that's huge. I mean, I haven't done any paid marketing for my home therapy solutions business. Just the relationships I've developed over time and continue to develop have been huge. In fact, before I started my podcast, I just got a message from a new connection that I've made for someone where we can build a relationship together to help each other with our goal of working with older adults in our community. So I hope that hearing a little bit about my story, as well as some tips that I have to share with people who are starting your business, will help all of you out there that are listening. And I apologize for being missing in action for the past few months, but hope to get started interviewing other occupational therapy professionals who have started their own businesses soon. In fact, I'm super excited. We're going to be interviewing some of the occupational therapy professionals that started and have grown their business like crazy, that are in our Therapy Business Builder program, as well as just others across the United States and world. So thank you for listening and have a fabulous day, and let's all get to the next level.
Thank you for watching today's show, which is sponsored by our Therapy Business Builder program, where we help healthcare professionals start the business of their dreams from the ground up. Also, be sure to join our free Next Level Occupational Therapy Facebook group. And for even more support, guidance, and training, check out our Next Level Visionary membership group. Time to level up, occupational therapy professionals.